Okay, we have started the recording. We can get started.
Hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Okay, so today it's a little continuation of what we have seen yesterday about Agentforce custom actions and how the variables and filters play a role in defining those actions in a better way, and try to get the better outputs, or basically how to streamline your actions with the help of these variables and filters. Um, so yeah, I assume most of us are already present yesterday, but for if some of the participants are newly joining today and have missed the session yesterday, just a quick introduction to myself. My name is Pradeep. I am working as a Salesforce architect at PwC. I've been a speaker at many community events like Dubai Dreaming and TDX San Francisco and TDX Bengaluru. So one of the topics that I'm going to cover today, a demo, is something that I have demonstrated in both TDX conferences this year. So that will cover a bit about the variables and filters. So I thought that will be a use case to show today. And about Agent Blazer Champion, I just put it there because, as Aman mentioned, Salesforce has now decommissioned the AI Associate certification, and now what we have is these Agent Blazer levels. So there are 3 levels: Champion, Innovator, and Legend. Legend is not yet out by Salesforce. As of now, only Champion and Innovator have been released. So I think the best way for us all to get started learning about Agentforce is going through these Agent Blazer levels, right? So the champion will give a brief overview. It will start with the basics. You'll build some prompt templates, prompt builder, and a couple of agents. And then in Innovator, there is more advanced setup about Agentforce for service and sales. So I definitely recommend to check out these levels, not just for the swags, but that's what gives very good information about the Agentforce in general. So that said, we can dive into our topic today, which is Agentforce variables, right? So, like, what is this variables? Where are we going to use this? We will take a look at that in the demo. It's going to be a short session as compared to yesterday because it's a smaller topic. But what's a variable, right? It is, you can think of a variable as something similar to what you see in your programming languages, right? Like any of your Apex or Java, JavaScript, anywhere what we use variables for. We use it for storing some data and use those variables in our processing of the logic. So same case, same concept is applied here as well. Within Agentforce, the variables that we define help us to gain finer control of our agents, right? So let's say that there is an agent and there are multiple topics and different actions. So what we do is we write instructions, as we have seen yesterday. So each agent will have a bunch of instructions. We will instruct the agent what topics are available, when to call which action, and how to basically invoke those actions. But with the help of variables, you can actually control the execution of those tasks, right? So and that's what this point here says, that it ensures consistent behavior. The thing with generative AI and AI in general is that your outputs are not always 100% exactly the same, right? Obviously, because if you're talking about text, then definitely it varies because it is generating on the fly. But even the actions it takes, it is it is not 100% deterministic as opposed to a code that you write. For example, if you write a code, if you pass that input, you are 100% sure that the output is going to be in a certain way. Of course, there will be exceptions and so on, but in general, if you write a deterministic logic and you send an input, you expect the same output. But what happens with AI engines is that the output or the behavior is not always very consistent. There may be some minor variations because the AI engine is hallucinating, or sometimes it is passing the wrong inputs or basically calling the incorrect actions. That is where our Agentforce testing center will come into picture, where we test all the agents thoroughly, make sure that it is always hitting that consistent behavior. But at the same time, we do not want your AI agents to be like chatbots. It has to be creative, it has to be reasoning, it has to be intelligent. So it's a fine balance between always getting a consistent output versus what the AI is kind of coming up using its intelligence, using its large language model capabilities, using the data that is available, and what it is kind of giving you as an output, right? So Agentforce variables will help cut down a bit, reduce on the uncertainty factor, make sure that you have some sort of a deterministic approach, even though in this generative AI sort of a scenario, and it will give you control over your actions and topics, without having to write too many instructions. We will see in examples what I mean. So there are two types of variables in Agentforce. One is called context variables, and the other is called custom variables. Okay, so context variables is basically something that is stored in the backend when your agents are deployed on multiple channels. For example, let's say you built an agent and you deployed that agent on a Experience Cloud portal website or a customer facing website that is totally built on a different technology. You can deploy your agents on WhatsApp, you can deploy your agent on Facebook. Uh, so building an agent and accessing that agent internally inside Salesforce is only one part of the Agentforce, right? So not every agent is built to serve internal Salesforce users, which we have seen yesterday. There are a lot of other use cases where your Agentforce agent is actually talking to end customers, not inside Salesforce org. That's where deployment channels will come into picture, and you have deployed it, let's say, on a website. So a customer is interacting with you, I mean with the agent. So the agent has to pass customers information back to Salesforce to perform its operation, right? So there are actions defined. So the context variables will help in storing the context about a particular messaging session. For example, message, whatever session ID, right? User ID, user's language, all these message session related information is all stored in the backend. That's why these variables are system generated. We cannot create new context variables, uh, but it stores the information about the current user with whom the agent is interacting with, and what are the different details about this conversation session, mainly about the session ID. There are a bunch of fields in the object called messaging session. So that context is maintained in these context variables so that it is easy to pass the information back and forth between your external channel, the deployment channel, and Salesforce. For example, these are all the messaging session related fields and variables that you can set in an Agentforce agent. As I said, messaging session ID, messaging user ID with whom I'm talking to, messaging user language. So in which language the end customer is interacting with the agent. And there are quite a few fields also, like for example, if I'm talking about a particular case, what's the case ID, what's the channel name, if each conversation will have its own conversation ID. So all of these are system generated context variables belonging to the messaging session object, which are available within Agentforce, so that Agentforce can communicate with Salesforce when the back and forth interaction is happening between a deployment channel and Salesforce. These variables play a role in maintaining that context. Otherwise, if the user is asking follow-up questions, if you're not having the context in memory, you'll not be able to answer, you in the sense the agent. So it has to have that context, it has to have the session ID. As long as the session ID is maintained, the conversation can continue smoothly. So this is one part of the variables, which is kind of behind the scenes, helping the interaction and happening in the backend context. We are not going to talk much about context variables in this session, but we are going to talk about something called as custom variables. So these custom variables is something that we can create. We, in the sense, when we are working as a developer, building an agent, we can create these variables, and we can use these variables similar to how you use your variables in your programming languages, as I just said. Right? So you can instantiate by the user. You can use these variables as inputs or outputs to actions, and it can be updated by actions. An actions output can be used to update a particular variable within Agentforce, and you can use in something called as filters, which we will take a look at. And finally, you can use this as an example for yesterday we have seen this employee agent, right? So internal Salesforce employee agent. When I wanted to simulate that agent, I let's say I wanted to see the top opportunities of an account. When I type in, give me the top opportunities for this account, it wouldn't know which account I'm talking about unless it has the context of that particular account. So if you remember, yesterday what we have done is we opened the preview, the conversation preview, and we typed in the object API name as account, and we gave the actual account ID as input. That's when it understood the context. So those are all custom variables. So as we can see, what is the current app name, what is the current object API name, what is the current record ID, and what page type we are looking at. All of these are actually custom variables. But we did not create these yesterday because internal employee agent and general CRM as a topic includes these variables. So that is why these are already present. But if you want, we can create any such variables and we can use them in our flow as inputs and outputs so that we can guide the execution of your agent logic, which we will see with an example. Okay, so variables and filters, right? So as I said, finer control on your agents, which means that it can enforce it will give you the power and the capability as a developer to enforce a particular flow in your execution. So it can, as I said, it can store your inputs and pass it to actions. And the main thing is it reduces the need to write more and more instructions. So what happens with instructions is that each person writes their own instructions in their own way. There is no standard way of, I mean, of course there are good practices, but there is no guarantee that every developer writes instructions in a 100% compliant way. And also there may be possibility that with some sort of malicious intent or prompt hack, prompt engineering, you might be able to tweak or get the agent hallucinate and kind of enter into unwanted scenarios. So all that will be avoided. You don't first of all need to write any instructions. Not any instructions, some specific instructions can be avoided with the help of variables. We will see that with an example. And of course, reusability. Like in any programming language, if you create variables, you can reuse them across your topics within the same agent. And what's the filter? Filter is something that will determine whether a topic or an action can be totally executed or not. So forget about different instructions. Let's say there is a topic that has 10 instructions, 4 or 5 actions, but you want your agent to look at that topic only if certain conditions are met. If some condition is not met, don't even consider the topic. In that case, you can put a filter at the topic level. We will see that in an example again. So that's what filters are about. Filters are basically like a checkpoint or like like a toll gate, which will control whether a topic can be executed or not, depending on if that filter value is true or false. Similarly, you can apply a filter within an action also. You don't have to put it at topic level. Within the topic, let's say there is a critical action, maybe initiating a payment, initiating a refund, some important actions are there. You want to be 100% sure that that action is executed only if certain XYZ conditions are satisfied. In that case, you can put filters at an action level also. You can write instructions saying that, hey, only call this action if this is true. But you're not 100% sure in this case whether your agent will actually follow your instruction. You have to write an instruction and hope for the best. Instead of that, if you put a filter, then that action will not be false if that filter is false. We will take a look at that. And how to create a filter? Firstly, you will create something called as a condition. In the condition, you use these variables that you just created, create a condition, and specify that condition inside a filter. And then you can specify that, as I said, on a topic or on an action as well. Example scenario, right? So let's say there is a situation where your system is doing bookings, right? Your agent has an ability to create booking on behalf of customer. Typical example, what Salesforce has been showing is that Coral Cloud Resort. So you want to create a resort booking, or it can be any sort of a booking, right? So before creating a booking, I obviously want to first check the customer, verify the customer details, and then only I have to create a booking. This is my scenario. So my agent has two actions. First is get customer details. Second action is create booking. For the get customer details action, the input is, let's say, a customer email, right? Maybe you have a flow-based action. You will give a email address as the input. It will find the customer and it will give you the customer ID as the output. In addition to that, there is one more output, whether it's a Boolean flag specifying whether it is verified or not. Verification, how it is done, we will see later. But let's say there's some two-factor authentication, the customer is verified. So this get customer details action is giving you two outputs. One is your customer ID and the other is a Boolean flag, whether it is verified customer or not verified customer. And the create booking action, the second action, it just needs the input of customer ID. Obviously, to create a booking, I need a customer ID for whom I want to create a booking, right? So this is the scenario. Then if I have two actions, how will I write the instruction? I'll say, pass the verified customer ID output that I got from the get customer details, the first action, take that output and pass it into the second action, which is the create booking action. And in the second action, the input property which needs to receive is called the contact ID, right? So read the verified customer ID from this action, whatever ID you got, pass it into this contact ID portion of the create booking action so that you can create a booking. So instead of writing this whole instruction and hoping that it works, what I can do is take the output of this verified customer ID. I mean the get customer details. If you look at the verified customer ID output, you can map it to a variable, right? So you can create a custom variable called verified customer ID, and in this action definition screen, map it to a variable called verified customer ID. And in the create booking action, in the inputs under contact ID, you can just put the same variable that you got, which is the verified customer ID. So that way, you will be 100% sure that your agent will read an output from one action and pass it as input to another action, right? So that way, two things will happen. One, you can totally skip this instruction. You don't even have to write this instruction. And two, you are 100% sure that your output will execute as you intended, right? So because this is not code and everything is kind of instructions given to the agent and topics and actions, this is a way to ensure that your flow is working as you intended it to, right? So this is how you use variables. Create a variable, assign it in an output of an action, and use it as an input to other actions depending on your requirement, right? So this is how we create variables and use them. We can see it in a demo as well. Next thing is filters. I obviously want to create booking only if the customer is verified. If the customer is not verified, I don't want to create a booking. So I'm talking about that Boolean flag, which is called is verified output property, right? Once again, I can write an instruction which says call the create booking action only if the customer is already verified from the previous get customer details action. If the customer is not verified, then do not call this create booking action. This is the instruction that I can write. Instead of writing this instruction, I can also do this. If you see at an action level, there is this option called filters. I can click on this. I can assign a filter which says is customer verified. We will see how to create a condition, but this is a filter condition. So your entire action called create booking will execute only if your customer is verified. If the customer is not verified, Agentforce will not call this particular action, even though the instruction says call create booking action to perform bookings. That's what you'll write in a one line, right? You'll just tell the agent that, hey, create booking is the action that you need to call when you have to create bookings. But this booking should be, this action should be called only if customer is verified. That part of the instruction you don't have to write. You can just specify a filter, and only if that filter is true, Agentforce will call this instruction, this action. In this case, it is simple, but imagine there is a complex logic. It is a combination of multiple outcomes of previous actions, and there is a lot of branching strategy in your flow. Like there are a lot of if-else conditions, and there is a lot of complex business logic. Let's say that's an insurance company. You have to call a particular action only if ABC has already satisfied, and there is a lot of such chaining is happening. In that case, these filters will be very helpful, because writing specific instructions will become more and more cumbersome as your logic grows, and as your application is venturing into a lot of advanced capabilities. So these filters will give that deterministic flavor, and it will make sure that everything works as per your requirement. So that's where you use this topics, filters and variables, right? So yeah, that is about the deck, but we will take a look at all of these in a demo. You may have some questions already about this, but I recommend that just go through the demo and see if you are still having any questions, we can definitely answer those. Okay, makes sense. So yeah, let's get started with the demo. So what we are looking at today in the demo is an IT support agent, right? So this is an agent that, as I said, I have built as a use case in the TDX conference earlier this year. So this IT support agent acts as your first level of contact for, let's say, resolving any IT support issues such as password resets, account unlocks, user access level troubleshooting, and all. So this is not an employee agent as we have seen yesterday. This is an end customer facing agent, which means ideally this agent will be deployed in a website or an experience cloud portal or an intranet site. Each company has their own intranet portals, right? So this agent will typically be hosted on that particular intranet portal. So that what happens is when user is having any access issue related to their Salesforce account, they can interact with that agent, and the agent will try to troubleshoot the issues. So that's the use case. Just to save some bandwidth, there is network is not very good. Let me disable my camera. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, hope you can see the screen again. Um, yeah, so let us take a look at this agent in the agent builder. So this agent has two topics, service user verification and user management. Here, user management is basically all the things that your agent can support your users with. For example, password resets, account unlock, any troubleshooting issues. So at the moment, there are only two actions that this agent can do. But obviously, this is like a scenario based use case where you can grow and add more capabilities to your agent depending on the requirements, right? So if you see this user management, it is a custom topic that I have created, and this has some actions on it. One is, account unlock. Other is password reset. Next, identifying users by email, and so on and so forth. So that is what this topic is all about. There is another topic called user verification, right? So this topic is actually a standard topic given by Salesforce. If you quickly see, Agentforce, uh, you know, service verification, it will be a this one. This is a standard topic given by Salesforce. So what it does is basically it will it is mainly used for sort of a two-factor authentication, sort of like it will send an OTP or a one-time password to the user, and user can enter that to make sure that they are verified. So this is not something that I have built for this demo or anything, right? This is a standard topic given by Salesforce, but I've made some small tweaks and added some logic specific to this use case. But otherwise, the generation of the OTP, everything is a standard topic given by Salesforce. So as we spoke yesterday, Salesforce is adding more and more capabilities into its standard topics and actions. And one such is this user verification topic. So we will see how everything is running behind the scenes, how these topics and actions come together along with filters and variables as well. Okay. With that said, let me initiate a conversation with this agent. I'll say I cannot log into Salesforce. So the first step it asks is to provide me an email address so that it can look at my user record and try to help me. And the topic it selected is the verification topic, which is a standard topic that I just spoke about. And it wants to first verify whether the user is the valid user in the sense, like a two-factor authentication. So it is asking me for my email address. So let me give the email address. So for security reasons, before proceeding any further, what we have implemented here is a OTP sort of a verification. So it says, if you have provided me a valid email or username, you should receive a verification code. Please enter the code here, right? So if I go to my mailbox and search, I should see uh, an OTP that it has sent. Maybe it just went in the spam or something. Interesting. Just 1 second. As always, it happens with demos. It was working fine this morning. But what it does is actually it sends out an email to this particular email address that we have used here, right? Did I spell it right? Gmail.com. Yes, I did. Anyway, I can demo it with a different mailbox. I'm just checking what happened there. Just give me 1 minute. Interesting. No, Somehow I didn't get it, but yeah, typical thing that happens in demos, right? Fine. So what happens, if you can see in the conversation canvas, is that maybe just as a one last try, we will see if it doesn't work. I can explain what is happening. I'll just say I cannot log into Salesforce. Let me give my email address once again. Okay, the action is executed successfully, which is the send user verification code action. So ideally, it should send me an email there. Let's just try one more time. Okay, apparently not. So it's not sending it on my email this time. We will see if there is any other
May-
option.
Maybe in spam or junk.
Yeah, exactly. I thought so. It should be in spam, but yeah, there it is. I did include spam just a while ago, but somehow it didn't get. Okay. But there it is, right? It is in the spam. Yeah. So it says this is the verification code that you have to enter in your current chat session to verify your email address. Okay, so yeah, sometimes Gmail does that, or anyway. So what we will do now is we'll first try to understand how this email has been sent, right? I mean, the verification code has been sent. Okay, so the first thing is, as we have seen yesterday, topic selection happens. It identified that it is a user verification topic because this topic deals about verifying user's entity before proceeding any further with the user access management issues. So first thing is a security check that you have to do this OTP sort of a validation. Um, the uh, the logic for generating the OTP is, if you see here, the input is my email, and it's a standard action that Salesforce has given. And the logic we do not really know because it is not exposed to us. We don't know what logic it is using to generate the OTP, but it is also giving me an authentication key, like this whatever 30-digit authentication key, which acts as a input key to verify later that whether this is the correct key or not, whether correct code or not, in the sense that if I give let's say now it is asking me to give the OTP, I'll just give some random incorrect OTP, right? 12345 6, and the system is able to identify that it is incorrect. So how was it able to identify whether it is incorrect or correct? Did it store the original OTP somewhere? No, it did not store the original OTP. But how is it able to check whether this is matching with this or not? Is with the help of an authentication key, right? So this authentication key, it uses a combination of authentication key. Basically, it sends that authentication key and this username, this email address, into its calculation logic, and the output is the verification code. That is matching with the one I gave or not is what it is checking, right? So we don't really know, as I said, the exact function that it is calling in the backend, but all we know is that it uses my email ID and it uses the authentication key into a function which outputs the verification code, and that is what is checking whether it is matching or not. Okay, so now I will give the correct OTP that I got in my email and see whether it is accepting. It may be a timeout because of all the explanation, but yeah, it is now successful, right? Now it says your verification is successful. How did it do that again? If you see, it passed the username, OTP as the input, the customer ID as input, and the authentication key, the same authentication, 30-digit authentication key, which came as an output in my previous step of OTP generation. Where is it? Here. The 795B, this authentication key, the same authentication key is passed as an input along with the OTP that I entered and my user ID. With all this combination, it ran that backend logic function, and it is able to determine that it is a successful correct OTP that I have given. So this authentication key is very important. Without this key, it cannot run that logic to determine what code it is, right? So that is what it has done, and it is said that your verification is successful. You can now proceed with your next steps. But if you look at the topic service user verification, nowhere in the instructions it is written that take the authentication key from this action and pass it as an input to your verification action, right? That sort of an instruction is never written. If you see, there are two actions here. First action is sending the code. Second action is actually verifying whether the code is correct or not, right? So nowhere in the instruction we are specifying that take an output from this and write send it here, but rather what we are using is what we have seen in the deck, which is the variables, right? So let us look at this action, which is send user verification code action. This action, it has an input, which is my email address. That's all, only one input. In the output, that 30-digit authentication key, I am storing that in a custom variable called authentication key, right? In the next action, which is actually verifying the OTP after user enters some random OTP or correct OTP, I have to verify that. That is this action, verify customer code. In this, one of the inputs is the authentication key, which it needs, and I'm passing that variable that I just stored as an input to this authentication, to this second action. That is how it is able to verify that. I mean, it is able to firstly get that 30-digit or whatever this authentication key, and it is able to perform its actions without having to write any instructions, without having to explicitly mention. I'm able to achieve this by using just one variable, in fact, called authentication key, store it out as an output, pass it as an input. That's it. With the help of that, it is able to establish that the OTP is correct. Okay, so that is how we use variables behind the scenes without having to write any instructions. Right. So now we are able to successfully validate our one-time password. Now it is asking, what is the issue with your Salesforce? Are you getting any error messages? What's exactly happening? Maybe I'll say it says incorrect username or password error. That's what it is throwing when I try to log into Salesforce. Now what the agent is that I found a user record associated with your email address, this particular user called John Adams. I can see that this user is inactive. Probably that's why you're not able to log in. So would you like me to activate this user account for you? The topic it selected is now the next topic in my agent, which is user management. Now that verification is successfully done, it went into user management topic. And in the user management, the action that it called is identify user by email. So with this email, it queried on the user object. It found one user record, which is this. If you see, this John Adams, his email is Pradeep, this one Gmail that I just gave. And as you can see, this user is not active. That's why it is able to find that it is inactive. Would you like me to activate this user? I'll just say yes. And it says that user account has been successfully activated. You should basically log in now and you should be able to good to go. Right. So if I refresh the screen now, I'll see John Adams is active. Right. So what did the agent do? It just called one more action, a custom action called activate user. It's a simple flow-based action. It takes one input, user ID, and it basically sets the is active flag on as true on that particular user record, and basically gave a successful output. Okay, so that is how it is able to identify, basically activate the user, right? The functionality itself is quite small, but the filter part is what we are now going to see. What filter I have used, which I just saw shown in the deck. The filter I have put at the user management topic level, right? Because user management as a topic contains a lot of actions which can provide user accesses. For example, it can activate user, it can reset their password, it can perform, maybe you can increase this, add more and more capabilities, you can assign permission sets automatically and so on. Because this is all related to user security, I want all of these actions. In fact, I want this whole topic to be selected if and only if the customer has already verified using their OTP, right? So that is how you can see here on the top, there is this filter icon. I added one filter here. It says verified user. Only enter this topic, only select this topic if this condition is satisfied. If the user is not verified, it will stop you there itself. It will say that your OTP is incorrect. Please provide your correct OTP. No matter how much you try, you say that please reset my password, anything, whatever you say, it will not even pick this topic unless user is verified, which means unless this OTP is validated and this verified user condition is true. Okay, so what is verified user condition? You can see that if you click on context, basically you can see all the variables here. Authentication key is one variable, customer ID, customer type, is verified is that boolean that I was talking about, and verified customer ID. So all of these variables I did not create. This is all part of the standard topic that Salesforce has given. It has all of these variables. You can go through this documentation and try it out yourself. So each of these variables are documented in this help article. Okay. Now what is a filter, right? So if you click on this, you can create one condition saying that what is the condition name. You can give anything, right? Is user verified. And what is the definition of that condition? Is that my is verified boolean value should be true. When is verified is true, then this overall condition is also true. That is when that's the filter that I created, and that filter I specified on the topic level at a user management topic level, that Agentforce will enter this topic only if this condition is true. Now, as I said, I can add filters at individual actions also. I don't want at an overall topic level, but within this, let's say reset user password is there. I want to only do the password reset only if some condition is met for some reason, right? I click on this action level also you can specify filters, same concept, right? So specific actions you can control, or entire topic level also you can control the execution by specifying that filter. You don't have to write any instructions. Okay, clear? So that is the role of topics and actions. Let us continue this just to take a look at how the password reset works. Maybe another instance of similar question. I'm saying that I'm unable to log in. Again, it asks me to provide the email address. This time I'll provide a different email. And again, it says I've sent you a one-time password. Everything is still the same as we have seen until now. This time it's a different authentication key. Next time, again, that variable reads this authentication key. And when I give my OTP, it passes the same authentication key. So there's a different mailbox. It should get the mail here. Your verification code is here. I'll copy this and give it in the agent builder. Okay, verification is successful. So if you see the next action, the same big authentication key has been passed as input that it got here as an output. And that is happening with the help of a variable as we just saw. Now let's say what is the issue? Same thing, incorrect password error. Now the scenario is that with the same email, there are two user records in my Salesforce org, right? And it happens because one user is a normal Salesforce user, one user is a maybe community user or chatter user or whatever. But the email is the same, right? Usernames are different. So Agentforce came back and said there are two users that I got with your email address. With which user you need help with? I can just say I can give the entire username, or I can just say number one. Then, because this user is already active, but you're still saying you're not able to log in, would you like me to reset the password? Right. So I'll say yes, reset the password. And then it says a password reset link has been sent to your email address. So what is the thing that is happening in the backend is a custom action again. It's an Apex based action. And the code is quite simple. It just does system.reset password for that particular user ID. So as we have seen yesterday, I'm sure, just for the information of someone who may not be there in yesterday's session, if you have to do Apex-based custom actions, you have to make sure that you are writing an invocable method, and you have to give your label and description correctly so that Agentforce understands what this action is about, and then your code can perform your logic basically. All this code is doing is just taking the user ID and triggering the password reset email using system.reset password. I mean, we don't have to really send an email because Salesforce handles that. As soon as you reset the password, user will automatically get the email, right? So that's what this email is about. Finishing. This is the normal one that we always get when you click on the reset password. If you click on it, it takes me to setting up a new password. So this is not custom thing. This is all standard Salesforce thing. But the only trigger for that is this Apex code, which is triggering the password reset in the backend. So now the Agentforce, your agent can do that for you. It says that you can give this capability with this custom action, and it is sending out the password. So as I said, if you want to make sure that you are only resetting passwords after security verification is done, you can put a filter on top of this action itself, specific action, instead of putting a filter at the top. of writing any agents is that you always have to have a handoff to human agents in case something fails. In case, as a backup option, your agent is not able to resolve your issue, you have to put human intervention, your human handoff as one of your fallback options in your agent. So let's say I got this email, but it happens to us, right? Like you click on a password reset, it says the link has expired. Maybe you have clicked it too many times or something happened. Link is not working. It says link has expired. Somebody has to manually do something here. So I'll say to the agent that I tried that. Oops, sorry. I tried that, but that did not work. I got the email, but the link is not working. It says the link has expired. Then the fallback action is to create a case. So it says, I have created a support case for you. Somebody from the IT help desk team will look into your issue and then they will resolve your issue. So if you look at cases, I think I have opened it somewhere. Okay, anyway. Obviously, you can integrate with your ServiceNow or any ticketing tool, but in this case, I'm just using Salesforce case object. So this is the case that got created. If you look at the description of this case, it is clearly documenting all the issue that has happened so far, so that the person, the manual IT help desk team person, can look at this description and start resolving the issue. It says user is unable to log in. I have already sent them the password reset, but they are still saying that the link has expired. This is the username, this is the email, and etc. etc. So all this information it captured in the description of the case before it handed it off to a help desk person. You can have your own case routing logics, everything. This case will be routed to the correct support person and so on. But once the user picks up this case, again, he doesn't have to contact the end customer. They have all the information right here in the description. So how is it capturing this description? Is again, yesterday we have seen actions and how to create Agentforce assets based on a flow. So this is the flow. This case creation is a flow. And this is a flow-based action. In the instructions, I've just mentioned that in the description field, provide as much information as you can so that the help desk person will have all the necessary information when they start looking into the particular case. So, give the user ID, username, email, etc. It's all text format based instructions, right? No code, nothing. It's all instructions to the agent, which says, because you are now handing it off to a person, a manual help desk person, give as much information as you can so that when the user is looking into the case, they have all the necessary information for them to resolve the issue. So that way, at the end as a fallback, after all your automations you tried and there is somewhere you have to hand it off to manual team, that fallback option you can put. And it is also advised that any sort of agent automation you are doing, if there is any security related or financial related, suppose payment needs to be processed or refund needs to be initiated and so on, it is recommended that you bring human into the loop, not basically let your agent handle everything, right? So wherever you want to bring that human touch point, you can do that. With this, again, you can create some actions and call those actions from your agent builder, right? So yeah, I think that will conclude the demo basically about different topics, actions, and filters and variables, how it runs behind the scenes. So as I said, it is going to be a short demo, but this is how you can look at this help article from Salesforce, go through the different topics and actions available, and try to build your own variables and filters. Even in a standard I forget, general CRM topic that we saw yesterday, you can create your own custom filters. Let's say, and variables. Let's say you are asking the agent to give me all the opportunities of an account, but how does it have the account ID? In the first flow, you can query account or something, take the ID out as an output and put it in a variable and pass that as an input to your next action, which is fetching all the opportunities or something like that. I mean, it's a very small example, but now once you know the concept, you can basically implement it where you want, and you can avoid writing unnecessary instructions and make sure that you bring some sort of a certainty and determinism in your agents so that it works as per your requirement, right? Yeah, that basically concludes the demo, and back to you, Aman.
That was short and crisp. Crisp. Thank you so much, Pradeep. So, are we concluding today's session itself, or you have something else to cover?
No, I don't think there is much apart from these, I mean, as I said, it's a small topic about variables and filters. Yeah, and I
Okay.
also decided to include the TDX demo so that it will be beneficial for others as well.
Okay. Cool. Thank you so much. I mean, you made them free early on Sunday.
Yeah.
Great. So people, if you have any doubt, we are keeping the stage open for your doubts. And please put your doubts if there is any. I'll just stop the recording.